The government today have agreed to sell Northern Rock to Virgin Money. The sale price could reach £1 billion, but that is still £400 million short. The bailout of the bank could cost the state £1.4 billion when Labour decided to nationalise it in 2008. Good afternoon and welcome to the UCA News at Noon. I'm Edward Hereth and here are your headlines. Protests in Egypt enter a fourth day, causing yet more chaos. Spain's Popular Party win the parliamentary elections. Ministers are ordering a crackdown on long NHS waiting lists. And in sport, Sepp Blatter apologises after controversial comments on racism. Now for more on today's top story. The British government has sold nationalised lender Northern Rock to Richard Branson's Virgin Money 5 months after the bank was put up for sale. Our economics correspondent Holly Moore has the full story.
Britain agreed today to sell nationalised lender Northern Rock to Virgin Money in a loss-making deal that marks the start of the government's exit from banks it bailed out in the 2008 crisis. The disposal will fetch around £747 million, representing a £400 million loss on the £1.4 billion in equity pumped into the lender by taxpayers. Chancellor of the Exchequer George Osborne said this.
I have authorised the sale of Northern Rock to Virgin Money. I think this is going to be a good thing for British consumers. We're going to have a powerful new presence on the high street, offering better deals to families and real choice and competition. It's also good for British taxpayers. We're getting some of the money back that we put into the banking system under the last government. And it's also good for the northeast of England because we're seeking to protect jobs there and make sure that the headquarters of Virgin Money will be in Newcastle.
The Northern Rock sale was handled by Britain's UKFI organisation, which was set up to manage the state's holdings in banks bailed out during the crisis. The combination of Virgin Money and Northern Rock should increase competition in British retail banking, challenging the dominance of HSBC, Barclays, Lloyds Banking Group, Santander and the Royal Bank of Scotland. Virgin Money currently offers mortgages, credit cards, savings and insurance products to around 3 million customers in the UK. Buying Northern Rock will give the business a branch network for the first time. Virgin Money has pledged not to make any further compulsory redundancies from the combined bank and to maintain Northern Rock's existing branch network. Holly Moore for UCA News.
Protesters demanding Egypt's ruling generals hand over power clashed with police in Cairo's central Tahrir Square today. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Katie Williamson has more.
Clashes between demonstrators and Egypt's security forces continued as the protests enter a fourth day. The police fired tear gas and attacked a makeshift field hospital, while protesters broke up pavements to hurl chunks of concrete at police. The conflict between government forces and protesters in Cairo and other Egyptian cities have killed at least 12 people since Saturday in some of the worst violence since the overthrow of Hosni Mubarak. Tahrir Square was the rallying point for protesters in Cairo when an 18-day uprising toppled Mubarak from 3 decades of power in February. With just a week before voting in the first free parliamentary election in decades, the confrontations have raised concerns about how smooth voting will be. Egyptians elect a new parliament in a staggered vote that starts next week, but even when the assembly is picked, presidential powers remain with the army until a presidential poll, which may not happen until late 2012 or early 2013. Protesters want a much swifter transition. Katie Williamson in Cairo for UCA News.
And in Spain, Mariano Rajoy has been named the country's new Prime Minister. Chantal reports.
Spain's centre-right Popular Party supporters waved their flag as their leader, Mariano Rajoy, is to be named the country's new Prime Minister. However, cheers were not seen all around because the party is promising severe austerity cuts. Spain is struggling in the current Eurozone economic crisis as their borrowing rates currently stand at 7% and unemployment at 5 million, meaning the country is currently unsustainable. Spaniards have turned their backs on the socialists who have ruled since 2004 under Zapatero because of frustration with economic collapse and unemployment. Rajoy has not given details of his rule. However, hard work starts now. We will face difficult moments, but we have desire, courage, will, and strength, said Rajoy. The Popular Party priority now stands in cutting the debt and creating jobs in a country which has the highest unemployment in the industrial world. Their challenge is to convince the market it has a convincing plan. This is Chantal in Madrid for UCA News.
Back home now, and thousands of non-urgent NHS patients are left waiting for more than 18 weeks for an appointment. Our health correspondent, Charlotte McCabe, has been to Farnham Hospital to find out more.
Over 250,000 non-urgent patients have been waiting for over 18 weeks for treatments at NHS hospitals. Ministers believe this is because there is not enough incentive for these patients to be treated. I went out to find out more about what is causing these backlogs. The government has now introduced a new time target to reduce the waiting time and tackle the amount of patients waiting for treatment in the promised 18 weeks. The 18 weeks are counted from the moment you ask your GP for the treatment and the time the treatment actually begins. Almost 250,000 people are in that position at a certain time. Now the government wants to reduce that number by about 50,000.
I'm really anxious about it now because I've been waiting for about 2 months after I had my appointment and I still haven't been seen and I don't know when I'm going to be seen and I've just been waiting for far too long now.
Well, I'm a great supporter of the NHS and I think anything which can reduce the waiting list is a very good thing. I understand that they have increased recently and I think if the government can do anything to restrict the waiting list, that would be excellent.
There is particular concern about people waiting longer than 18 weeks, with some patients waiting for over a year for specific treatments. However, all of these figures must be seen in the whole context of the waiting lists, which currently stands at 2.6 million for non-emergency care, particularly hip and knee replacement. It is said that the backlog is caused by the government relaxing Labour's 18-week limit. Their answer to this problem is to introduce a financial penalty when the allotted time limit is not met. This backlog is not seen throughout all hospitals in the UK, some are treating all their patients quickly. Experts believe the solution might just be to look at problem areas where hundreds of patients are still waiting for over a year. Charlotte McCabe in Farnham for UCA News.
Now we go over to Shauna Sherwood for all of today's sports news. Shauna.
Thanks, Ed. Now, there's been major controversy in the past week in the world of football. FIFA President Sepp Blatter sparked fury by claiming that racism on the pitch could be settled with a handshake. This caused a massive uproar and many have now called for his resignation. Blatter has since apologised for his comments and said, "I cannot resign. Why should I?"
Oh no, I cannot. I cannot resign. Why should I resign? When you are faced with a problem, you have to solve the problem and to go out and to leave the organization. This would be unfair. This would be totally unfair and is not compatible with my fighting spirit, my character, my energy, my commitment, my personal commitment to football.
LA Galaxy star David Beckham said he thought Blatter's comments were appalling.
I think the comments were appalling. I think a lot of people have said that. I don't think the comments were very, very good for this game.
David Beckham had a lot to celebrate on Sunday night as LA Galaxy lifted the MLS Cup after a 1-0 win over Houston Dynamo. Fan favourite Landon Donovan scored the 72-minute winner. Beckham, who was nursing a hamstring injury throughout the game, has now got to decide where his future lies.
I need to sit back and relax and enjoy this moment and then decide what I'm going to do. But
here are the latest scores from the weekend. On Saturday, Arsenal started off the day's football beating Norwich City 2-1. Steve Morrison put the home side up in the 16th minute, but Gunners captain Robin van Persie followed suit and scored 2 great goals to put Arsenal ahead. Van Persie said it takes hard work to win.
But it all comes down to hard work. Everyone is working hard. We're a bit lucky here and there, but that's what you earn when you put the effort in.
Later on in the day, Manchester City played host to Newcastle and retained their unbeaten record. City clinched a 3-1 victory over the Magpies with Balotelli, Richards and Aguero all getting on the score sheet. Dan Gosling managed to pull one back for Newcastle in injury time, but it was all too late. Yesterday, Liverpool beat Chelsea 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. Maxi Rodriguez put the Reds ahead 33 minutes in, but former Blues defender Glenn Johnson sealed the victory with a spectacular finish just before the final whistle. Now in tennis, yesterday was the first day of the ATP World Tour Finals, and Swiss ace Roger Federer was first up against Frenchman Jo-Wilfried Tsonga. Federer avenged his quarter-final loss against Tsonga at Wimbledon and won the match 6-2, 2-6, 6-4. Later, Nadal was pushed to his limits by Mardy Fish in the first round match. Nadal looked set for an easy win, but Fish fought back. The Spaniard managed to hold on and after nearly 3 minutes ended the match victorious with a 6-2, 3-6, 7-6 win. That's all your latest sport. I'll be back later with more, but for now it's back to Ed.
Thanks, Shauna. That's all for this afternoon. Katie Williamson will be back later with the evening news at 6. From all of us here at UCA News, have a lovely afternoon.
Good afternoon. The fog from this morning has mostly cleared throughout the day, leaving many of us with clear skies. The east of the country could, however, see some more fog patches as we get into the evening. There is a chance of outbreaks of rain in western areas as we move through the afternoon, turning rather cloudy in most parts. It's still feeling quite mild, with temperatures still in double figures with highs of 11. It will feel slightly colder in the fog with highs of 9 in eastern areas. Tonight there will be a band of rain moving across the country, which should clear by the early hours of the morning. Most of us will see fog throughout the night into tomorrow morning, making it feel a lot colder than it has over the past few days, with lows of 6 in the north and 8 in central and southern areas. That's all for your weather. Goodbye.